we are on lockdown. And when I mean lockdown, I mean with stage 4 lockdown, we can only go outside for 1 hour. 8 o'clock is a hard curfew. You will be fined if you do not have a mask on. You will be fined if you are outside past 8 o'clock. Wow. And yeah, so, just virtually working from home. I am now a virtual employee. So we're safe, though. We're safe, which is the most important thing. So hopefully this thing blows over and lockdown restrictions will be no longer end of this month.
Yeah, so before we get into the questions, I want Vedant to introduce himself so you get to know about him more.
Yeah, so what's going on? I'm the 14-year-old president of Global Kid Media. Just turned 14 a couple weeks ago. The same day Nathan turned, 25?
We had the same birthdays.
Yeah, so
Leo, you guys are Leos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm born August 3rd. I'm a Leo too. This is why the energy is really, really good in here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So basically, I've done 1,000 interviews in 2 years now. Talked to the top stars in the NBA, NFL, college, working to be that first kid on national TV as a sports host, sports reporter, producer, doing something to inspire millions of kids. Whatever they want to do, they can do anything.
Beautiful. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. So first, before we get into your career, I want to get your reaction. What was your initial thoughts when the Brooklyn Nets hired Steve Nash? That came out of nowhere. That was a shocker. He has no coaching experience, but I feel like in order for this to happen, KD and obviously Kyrie had to sign off on this, and it's based on relationship with when he was with Golden State, and then he played with Sean Marks in Phoenix too. So what was your initial reaction when this happened?
Kevin Durant. KD and Steve Nash have a really good relationship. Steve Nash would be a player's coach. He's played the game at the highest level. He's excelled. No, he did not. Oh, did he win a championship? I think he did.
I think he did, yeah.
No, he didn't. He did not. Oh. Jason Kidd won it in Dallas at the point with Dirk. Steve Nash was 2-time MVP. So I believe the experience as a playmaker, point guard, being able to bring teams together, being able to bring players together, and be an extension of a coach for his whole career on the court, I think he would be an excellent coach. So good on him. And, he lives in New York in the off season for many, many years. We've hung out together a few times in New York City. We have mutual friends. And I wish him the best.
And also in New York City is his godson, RJ Barrett, who he's mentored and done a great job with him. So, no professional coaching experience, but with that's got to count for something. Let's talk about your background a little bit. Coming up, playing basketball, who was the biggest person in your life growing up that really pushed you to become the man you are today?
I think there's a combination of people that nobody actually would know on this platform. Coming from New York City, I started playing ball at 13, so it was more guys in the playground who I really look up to. These were guys that I would see every day and aspire to be like. I wasn't really good growing up. Talent-wise, I didn't have much talent. I just worked really hard, and I had a lot of energy. So those type of players with limited offensive skills, but with a lot of energy, they would throw you on defense. You get what I'm saying? So I learned how to play defense more than anything else. I like playing, when I did watch the NBA, which wasn't a lot, I like watching blue-collared workers. So I initially liked the Detroit Pistons. I like the New York Knicks. My family's Jamaican, so Patrick Ewing we followed a lot because obviously he's a native of Jamaica. But outside of that, I just really liked street ball players. That was my NBA for me because I could actually reach out and touch them and see them all the time physically. So it was guys by the name of Seth Marshall. It was another guy named Ty Dangerous. That was his nickname in the playground. He could do everything. He's about a 6'6" guard. Had crazy handle, in and out, cross. It was ridiculous. Get to the rack, finish, and he would just give guys work. And at that point, I wanted my game to be exactly like his game. So I sucked if I wanted my whole game to be like someone else's.
Yeah, so actually, I know that you went undrafted, but what was it like? Opportunity working hard to get to the NBA, but getting undrafted and obviously getting the opportunity to play in Australia.
Well, there was a whole lot of things that came prior to me being undrafted all the way to Australia. I went to Alabama State, graduated, got my degree in criminal justice. I came home. My coach didn't help me. It wasn't like it is now where you could just jump on YouTube and throw a highlight tape up. It can go viral and you could potentially get an opportunity. If you went to a small school, you need to average a whole lot of points to get a look. And if you didn't have an agent representing you and you didn't have a big name, it would be extremely difficult. Lucky for me, geographically and regionally wise, I'm from New York City, which is the mecca of basketball. We have street ball. That's where I figured I would try to get an opportunity to go to the NBA from street basketball. That's how naive I actually was to believe this could work. And that was the route I had to take, which ultimately got me a shot to the NBA.
Speaking of Alabama State, I mean, you look at, like you said, nowadays people just put up a little highlight tape and they can get an opportunity. Some of those smaller schools, I was covering the Ravens training camp. I know that's in the NFL. There's a lot of guys who come from smaller schools. At that time, you said you had to average pretty much a lot of points to get a chance. And when you look back at it, is there any other approach you could have taken besides a street ball approach?
No, there was no other approach. I was a late bloomer, and I had to go to a school where I felt I would get the most playing time and opportunity on the court. Nowadays, guys have broken through. There's a lot of talent in smaller universities, and when you add in the internet, you know, there's so many players, you can't see everybody. So a guy that has a little bit of talent, a lot of talent at a small school versus a guy with a little bit of talent at a major university, you're gonna go look at the guy that that has gone to the university that's more credible. One, it's a safer move, you know, to take a guy that went to a small university that's a pretty talented player. It's a higher risk because no one notable has come from that university. You understand what I'm saying? It's literally like a Fortune 500 company employee versus an employee from a fast food chain. If you are a recruiter and the CEO of a company, are you going to take the guy from a Fortune 500 company with solid stats, or would you take the guy at work at McDonald's with big stats? You're going to take the guy. It's a safer move because you figure Fortune 500 company, he's working and going against respected companies, respected competition. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you got to make a decision as a GM, because if you hire this player and he doesn't pan out, that's your job potentially. Right. So if you're making a decision based off of that, it ain't just talent. It's business. If the guy from the Fortune 500 company messes up, your job is still safe because 90% of people would take that guy versus taking a risk and a chance on a guy who is coming from McDonald's. So that's the hard route. I'm the guy that's coming from McDonald's. So I didn't have any other choice but to go the street basketball route, or else I wouldn't be here today. And that's how I got the nickname Homicide. I had to kill in the streets. I had to kill in those street ball tournaments. Rucker Park, Dykeman. You know, right now, these days, we see the Drew League. Shout out to the Drew League. You see all these NBA players playing. That's what we've been doing our whole life. The 90s and the 2000s. That was what Rucker Park was about. That was West 4th Street. That was Hoops in the Sun. That was Dykeman. That's the normal. So I would have opportunities to match up and play against NBA players. Right. And the playing field was even, because if I go to an NBA training camp back then, I wouldn't have the ball like that. I'm an unknown, which means I have little room for error. I turn the ball over, they might just cross my name out, I get cut and sent home. But in the playground, I get the ball. I don't come out the game. I could take as many shots as I want. The playing field is even. That's how I was able to show everything I can do. I could show my whole game. That's how I got a shot to the NBA, killing the competition in the playground.
Yeah, so so what was it like? Obviously, whoever doesn't know about Australian basketball, can you explain what was the experience like playing there, and what kind of different style they play than the NBA?
I mean, it's FIBA basketball, so it's you don't play there's no illegal defense. You can sit in the paint. It's modified professional rules. So the 3-point line and maybe maybe about 2 inches in. Outside of that, it's just straight basketball. It's like modified college. So the lane isn't open. And outside of that, and the 3-point line is closer. Guys aren't as athletic, freakishly athletic as guys in the NBA, but the competition is legit. This is one of the best leagues in the world outside the NBA. That's why LaMelo Ball got sent down here. That's why RJ Hampton got sent down here. Competition is stiff.
Let me ask you this. When you first got to Australia, besides the game, what was the first thing you noticed as far as the country, the culture, the food, things like that?
I mean, people are really nice. They drive on the other side of the road. The steering wheel is on the other side of the car. So it's very, very interesting attempting to drive. You're crossing the street, you're looking the other way, and the car is coming this way. It's just it's weird. So outside of that, beautiful country, beautiful people. It's summertime when it's winter in America. Everybody speaks English. The food is clean. It's really, really nice here and easy going. Really nice lifestyle. Melbourne is one of the most livable cities in the world. It's been ranked 5 consecutive years. So, it's grown rapidly. It is growing year by year. There's about maybe 7-8 million people living in Melbourne. Sydney's beautiful. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah, so obviously, what's it like? Obviously, you played in the Australian League, but what's it like covering it now as an analyst? And
you guys there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, uh-oh. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm here.
Yeah. So my question was, obviously you played in the league in Australia, but what's it like covering it now as an analyst and working with the NBL and the FIBA? What's it like covering these young players, up and coming players in the Australian League?
I think it's great. I think the transition to an analyst and broadcaster post basketball has been a great one. I think I played the game. I'm passionate about the game. I know the game. I live the game. And I talk a lot. I'm a New Yorker. So I think that it was a perfect fit. It worked for both parties very well. I'm growing. I really love what I do. All my life I've been in basketball. So it's a blessing, and I'm truly grateful to cover a game that I love in a league that I appreciate, that I played in. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of people that do this in America. I wouldn't have this opportunity in America today because my body of work is on foreign soil. It's not on domestic soil. So as you see so many analysts doing their thing in America, well, they've played professionally in America and done well. I'm talking about the athletes that have transitioned to post basketball and analyst roles and commentating roles. They've done well, so they have a fan base. They've had success in that league, and it's transitioned them into the role that they're in. And congratulations to them and kudos to them. And it gave me a vision to where I felt that after the game, I could do the same thing. I'm no different than them. It's just I'm doing it in a country where I've had success as a professional. And I'm very happy for that, and I'm grateful for that. And I know that I'm inspiring plenty international basketball players that have played the game and giving them vision to see that if I can do it, so can they after the game. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care if you have $1 in your pocket or $100 million. The transition will make you stronger or break you down, because you're not hooping for the rest of your life. What are you going to do after the game? That's the key. You know what I mean? The best of them are struggling post-basketball. Because I'm not talking about just money. I'm talking about, what do you do with yourself?
Right.
You've done one thing. You've mastered one thing for your whole life. What do you do after the game? So I'm extremely grateful that I have this opportunity to do what I'm doing.
And I was having this conversation with JJ Redick about how players are told when they're playing in the league, things that they like to do outside of the game, they can't do because they're just strictly ball players. So for you, as you transition, how many people doubted you, and how did you overcome that?
I mean, it's just self-belief. You know, at the end of the day, it starts within. What do you want to be? When it's all said and done, what do you want to be? How do you see yourself? You know what I'm saying? You are who you hang out with. If you hang around with negative people and bums, chances are you'll be the next bum and negative person, because there's no way though that energy does not seep into you. So it's very careful who you hang around. Hang around yourself if you can't find any people that are positive and doing the things that you want to do. And I'm not talking about your profession. I'm just talking about with the mindset. I want to be the best person I can be. You understand? I want to be that and more. I'm aiming for the moon. I ain't aiming for the stars. I'm aiming way past that, because if I fail and I don't get to the moon, guess where I'm at? I'm in the stars, so it's still a win. You understand what I'm saying? It's still a win. So it's very careful how you envision yourself, how you carry yourself, you know, and what you want to be in life, and aspire to be that. Anybody that's around you that's not on that, you don't need to be around them. What's the purpose?
Yes.
So it starts with yourself. Don't ever forget that. It starts with what you want to be.
Yeah, so my next question here, obviously you said you were a criminal justice major. So I'm a criminal justice major myself. So what advice would you give, especially for me and these other people that are trying to be in a criminal justice field, what to expect going into whatever you want to do? Well,
the reason why I chose criminal justice, I wanted to specialize in juvenile justice. You know, I grew up, I was a young man growing up in the Bronx, New York, and I'm not talking about the Bronx today. I'm talking about the Bronx in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? The 80s, the 90s. I'm a bit older. So I know what the real New York looks like. That's when, you know, they're like, listen, the furthest you go in the Bronx is Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And you take your ass back on the train downtown that goes express to 59th Street from 161st. I knew that because I found a passion and I got a scholarship to go follow my passion, I had a bit different. My mindset was different than most growing up in the neighborhoods of the Bronx. And what I wanted to do was, if I was able to make it out, I need to be able to talk to the youth that are high risk at that age. That's high school. One decision you can make, one decision can alter your life for the worse. So if I can show them I'm from where they're from, give them the advice, I'm living proof. A lot of times in the inner city, you have teachers who do not look like me that are teaching me. And I'm in class and I don't listen because I'm like, the message you're telling me, it doesn't relate. When 3 o'clock hits, you're going to your nice place and I'm going back to the hood. What you're telling me, I'm not going to listen to. And I'm not saying me, I'm just saying a lot of kids in the inner city that do not relate to the message that's coming from these teachers, and they mean well, you know. But if you can see somebody that looks like you and comes from where you're from, the message will hit different. That's why I wanted to be a criminal justice major, not to work in the system, because I believe that the system hardens you up.
Right.
If I'm a correction officer and I go to work for 9-10 hours, I cannot be compassionate because I'm around criminals. I'm taught to shut down emotionally. That is not something you can turn back on once you check out of work. So I never wanted to do that. I wanted to be compassionate. I wanted to show empathy, and I wanted to help, motivate, impact, inspire, and educate. That's what I'm about.
That's huge, man. Especially, a lot of those kids, I'm sure I'm near the Flint area. I've interacted with a lot of people from Flint, Michigan, who are told all the time that you can't be anything if it's not in sports, if it's not, getting out of there. And a lot of them want to go into drugs, want to go into violence, want to go into bad things because they're never told what the good side of things look like. So I try to talk to kids about that a little bit too when I'm down there. Going back to, you being an analyst now, obviously we've seen in the NBA the way the three-point shots evolved. What's the biggest thing that's evolved in the NBL or in the Australian leagues?
I think that the competition has gotten tougher because of the relationship that the NBL now has with the NBA. Guys in Europe, back in the day, it used to be, if I want a shot at the NBA, I have to, and I'm not in the NBA, I have to go to Europe because that's where the NBA scouts focuses on. You can play well in European League, you can play in the NBA. Now, these NBA players, these borderline NBA players now know and understand the NBL is a route to get you to the NBA as well. So I saw the competition go through the roof. I saw the competition because of the locals. See, international basketball, the strength of your league determines on the strength of your local players. So the Italian league is tough because there's some really good Italian players. The Spanish league is tough because there's some really good Spanish players. The Australian league is tough because your local talent is legit. Australia is ranked number 3rd in the world, okay? USA, Spain, Australia, France. Yeah. That goes to show you there's about 15 Australians in the NBA. So that shows you right there the level of the junior level moving up. Australia is one of the best countries in the world. So when you have all of these things put together, as well as a great combination of import players, Americans come into play in this league, that puts you in the best position to have your league really strong. And that's why it's one of the strongest in the world.
So I gotta ask you, since you're being in Australia, and what was it like seeing RJ Hampton and LaMelo Ball playing in Australia? And do you think they're
what's his name? You better get it right. That's the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, LaMelo Ball. So
you better get it right.
So no, but what's it like watching them in person and getting to cover them? And also, do you think their games can translate to the NBA easier now since they played overseas?
Yeah. I always say this. Back in my day, as if I'm 80 years old, but back in my day, if I see Global Kid Media interviewing professionals, right? Okay, he's good, he's young, he's good. Let's see him do it with pros to determine how good he is, right? He could interview 1,000 kids, right? We'll say, okay, he's good for a kid, right? Let's see him do it with pros. Let's see how he handles himself to determine how good he really is. That's the same thing with basketball, right? Melo Ball, RJ Hampton. These are good little kids that dominate an AAU circuit for their age. They wanted to challenge themselves. They said, look, we want to go play in one of the best leagues in the world outside the NBA to prove we can play. They went. Do you know, here's a fun fact what people do not know. RJ Hampton was a high school senior this year. He did 3 years in high school. Wow. Okay? And he graduated high school in 3 years. So technically, this was his senior year in high school that he played in the NBL. That's incredible. He averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, played about 20 minutes a game. His team was stacked, so he couldn't get as much playing time like Melo. So for me, what he did, I believe he's a lottery pick. Late lottery, like maybe like 14, 15, because he didn't get as much playing time to show everything he can do But Melo, but before I get to Melo, so RJ's athletic like Russell Westbrook, super fast, multi-positions he can play, 1, 2, and 3. He's about 6'6", 6'7", about 6'6". Shoot the ball a little bit, and he can handle the ball as well. He's a scoring guard. So he needs to hopefully get drafted by a team that has the right system and a coach that's willing to work with him. And he'll be a really good pro. I honestly believe that. He'll be a really good pro. Melo Ball is the number 1 pick. That kid averaged 17, 7, and 7 in one of the best leagues in the world outside the NBA, and finished his last 2 games with back-to-back triple-doubles, the first in the history of the league to do that at 18.
Wow.
Again, what I say is, if a kid is that good, put him against grown men that have to pay bills,
Right.
grown men that have to pay a mortgage, grown men with a family. They got child support to pay that know you got hype, which means I'm not about to let this little kid show me out. You understand what I'm saying? So God's men with pride are going to step up, give their best effort to shut this kid down, because you don't want to be on this highlight tape.
Yeah.
And he was still able to average 17, 7, and 7. Come on, man. If that ain't the number 1 pick, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Do you think, as far as the mental aspect of the game, though, college would have helped in any way at all? I mean, especially if you talk about someone like RJ Hampton, who's coming straight out of high school to the 3rd highest level of competition. There's some things that you pick up in college, though, as far as the atmosphere you're around, the coaching things you can pick up, being a student athlete at the same time. Mentally, do you think there's going to be a block there?
Of course not. Student athlete. He graduated high school in 3 years, so we know he's a student athlete, right? That's 1. 2, they're not going to class. They one and done. What kind of classes they going to? Let's keep it real, right? Any player that's one and done, they're going to take the minimum amount of classes to just pass the credits, right? To make sure they're eligible for the 2nd semester. And they're not going to class because they know they're going to the NBA. What am I going to class for? Honestly, if you know you are a one and done player and you're about to be a millionaire, what you going to class for, man? You going to work on your game. You're going to make sure you get to the tournament, and then you're going to make sure you can win the tournament. And then put it like this. Once you get to the tournament, you're traveling here next week to play this game. You're traveling there. Are you even in class? You're not. So I think you have to put people, you have to be forged in fire. And that's what they were. You put them in the worst situations. Let me see how you built. I'm going to take you away from your family. I'm going to put you by the equator. We're in Australia, man. Yeah. It takes a day to get here. No family, no friends, with grown men, strangers, where you are forced to figure this thing out. Let's see what you got. College can't do that. You're going to play against guys you played with in AAU. You're comfortable. You're home. You out of state. Your family could take a bus to get to you at worst case scenario. You know what I mean? I think that would be easy for them. This is where you test the waters.
Right.
For me, it was boot camp for them. So technically, their rookie season in the NBA won't be a typical rookie season because last year was that.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question real quick. I mean, you were talking earlier, too, about what are you going to do after you play in the NBA. There's guys I know in Michigan State and different places who do a lot of school during the summer, during the off season. When you don't go to college, how do you prepare for your afterlife after basketball?
I think that that's a good question. Number one, I think that maybe in the off season, you'll take a class or 2. You get what I'm saying? These guys, barring injury, will have double-digit years in the league, 10 to 15 years in the league, right? So over the course of a long professional career, you could take 2 or 3 classes in the off season. And by the time you'll have your degree, because I believe, if you can earn a degree, you should. You know, it depends at that point also your team that you have around you, your surroundings. You should be able to build an empire and become more of an entrepreneur and a businessman. And that's how, if I'm them, I would go about doing this, because knowledge is infinite. We all need it.
So yeah, so my next question here, I know we have a couple more minutes here, but I have, so this is, so I saw your recent show actually, so I saw the whole thing. Fantastic, by the way. So since you, obviously you work from home.
Thank you.
So how often do you guys do your shows from the house? And obviously you cover stuff with the NBL, but I want to get to one of your interviews you had with Harrison Barnes in person. I saw that picture, and what was it like connecting with him when you interviewed him? But first, I want to say, how often do you do your shows since this pandemic happened? Oh, you froze up. Oh no.
I can see and hear you, Nathan.
Oh man, this guy, I think he froze up. Oh man. All right, it says we have like 6 minutes left here, so let's see.
Doesn't it go unlimited if there's only 2 people?
Yeah, I gotta upgrade this. I don't know what happened to this. We'll skip the rapid fire segment.
Yeah, we don't have to do a flip the switch either.
All right, let me see. Oh, there you go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I gotta upgrade my Zoom. We have like it says we have like 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. But yeah, so my question was, so obviously you work from home. So, so how often do you guys do your shows from the house now since the pandemic happened?
We do our show, our off-season show, once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called NBL Overtime, and we're we do it on ESPN.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Australia, New Zealand, because our games are shown in the NBL. The games are shown on ESPN and SBS Viceland.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we just won an award too for the best sports show.
Congrats.
In Australia, New Zealand. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and but also I want to ask you, what was it like getting to know Harrison Barnes, man? This guy is a talented player in the NBA, and obviously no one talks about him, but he's a great scorer, great defender, and obviously he's making a name for himself in the league now. But what was it like getting to know him in person?
Harrison Barnes is a class act. He's a ultimate professional, great defender, had a hell of a career, is having a hell of a career. NBA champion, was a key ingredient to them getting that championship with Golden State.
Yep.
And it was cool. You know, I had an opportunity to interview Team USA when they were here in Australia. And it was a great experience, because I just look at this whole thing as sharpening my tool belt. You know, every day you have an opportunity to talk to somebody, you should want to become better at your craft.
Mm.
If you don't want to be, if you're not getting better, what you doing it for? You know what I'm saying? You have to take advantage of these opportunities, because these are people that do not have to give you your time. They don't have to give you the time. You're not paying them to do it. You know, so obviously, based on how you do things, people are valuing you as well if you reach out. So I just try to put my best foot forward and appreciate and take advantage of these opportunities coming to me. and just, you know, do my thing with it. Treat it like a game.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's my mindset. Trying to drop 30 and win.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? 30 piece and win. So I approach this the same way.
Who would you say has been your favorite show so far?
Ah, man. I think my favorite one would be Interview Kimber Walker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the reason why we did it, the end of the Team USA had beat Australia the first game, and I had the post-game interview with him. Kimber Walker was the captain of Team USA. Kimber Walker's from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Kimber Walker went to Rice High School.
Yep.
I'm from the Bronx, and I went to Rice High School. And we all came up playing street ball. I'm older, but the fact that it's come full circle to where he just signed his big deal. He was an all-star coming from the Bronx and Rice High School, and I'm interviewing him after my career coming from the Bronx, coming from Rice. And that was a full circle moment for me, how far we both came. And on top of it, he was Team USA captain. So that was like a highlight for me.
So
I would say, really quickly, I wanted to mention I interviewed his former teammate, Miles Bridges, who's from my Flint area, and he always comes back for a camp, and that's really cool. And talking to Giannis as well, if we're talking NBA, just hearing his stories of Greece and getting to hear, you know, the cultural aspect.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, things like that, it touches you different because, again, man, you know, you have to understand, if nothing else, you have to be grateful because it doesn't have to be you. There's a million. I want you, Global Kid Media, I want you to never forget this, right? There's 2 million of you. There's 2 million kids that's doing this shit, man.
Yeah.
Don't have to be you. So you have to appreciate what you're doing. And when you get people's time, appreciate it and take advantage is my point, because the window of opportunity is open, but for so long. It's going to close one day. You want to make sure you maximize that window of opportunity. You don't want, when it closes, to look back like, damn, I wish I should have done this or I should have done that. If you treat it like I just said to you, you will have success. You will be one of the biggest names in this thing. And at worst, your career will be talking. How great is that? You talk for a living and get paid for it. You know what I'm saying? So the point is, again, this is boot camp for you. Because at some point, you're going to hit your resume is building every time you turn this screen on.